Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today on our latest February edition of the Channel Marketing Academy chat. Today, we are going to be talking about AEO, what we know, what we're trying, and what is still a mystery. I'd like to first start off by thanking our CMA founders, the ERP and CRM software blog, as well as the marketing group for kicking us off and keeping our lights on here. As I say every month, we try to make it as interactive as possible. So please ask questions in the chat. If you're not camera shy, you can always come off mute and ask it live. Totally up to you. Michelle and Anya will be monitoring the chat because sometimes I get wrapped up in doing two things at the same time is hard. So as we all are in this brave new world of AEO, it's new. We haven't figured it out yet. And that's why this discussion is going to be so helpful. We're going to talk to our panelists today about what they're experimenting with, what they're reading, because there's going to be a lot of theory that's going to be happening today, because this is still very new for everyone, how you can improve your visibility, and what can actually be measured right now. I think marketing is a science and an art. So for us, it's important that we have that balance of what we're trying versus what we can actually test and measure. So we know that it's definitely a moving target and a little bit of witchcraft and wizardry as we go through this. So I love to hear everyone's opinions. So if you're trying something new or different, it doesn't mean that it's not right. It just means that it's new and different for everybody. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists today. We have Mike, Robbie, and Jennifer, who are going to be our experts, because that's definitely not me when it comes to this topic. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, folks. I'm Mike. I'm Senior Digital Marketer at Encore Business Solutions. I've been there about 7 years. Encore's been in the dynamic space 35 years and counting, and we serve mid-market companies across North America.
Great. And a longtime friend of the channel, Marketing Academy as well. So happy to have you on this side this today. Jennifer, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jennifer McNamara at Rand Group. I'm our Chief Marketing Officer. I've been with Rand Group for about 17 years, working with the Dynamics products for about 20. Kind of had a weird career path in probably the first 15 or so years of my career. I was in development and consulting, and then I took a turn to marketing. So I've kind of been on both sides of the fence, and it's been an interesting journey.
Well, welcome to the dark side. I'm sure you have seen it all in your 20 years as well. And I think having that balance of knowing both sides is going to be definitely beneficial for our talk today. And last but definitely not least, Robbie, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
All right. Yes, I'm Robbie Janes from Sabre Limited. And to be honest, I'm actually fairly new to the channel. So I've only been in the channel for about 3 years now, with Sabre for 3. And before that, I come from a PPC slash SEO experience, working for publishers, and somehow found myself in marketing through journalism. So it's been a wild ride, but that's what brought me here today.
Well, thanks. And I think everyone has a story about either falling into ERP or falling into marketing. So you are right at home. I'm sure we all have a story to tell about that as well. So, and your background in PPC, I think, will definitely give us a good parallel too of how that is making things tougher or easier depending on how you want to look at it. So let's get into the first question is, how do you define AEO for marketers who have not tested it yet? What is it? What is it not? I guess I just want to set a baseline for everyone here today because we are all on different levels and pages. So, Jennifer, want to kick us off?
Yeah. So to start with, the real basics is it stands for answer engine optimization, which is kind of funny because it's such a new science that a year ago they were calling it GEO, generative engine optimization, and now we're shifting to a different acronym. But the short of it is it's optimizing your content so that AI systems, LLMs, they can extract it, they can cite it, they summarize it, and most importantly, they can recommend your brand. And kind of the thing to realize about the LLMs is a lot of the same concepts apply that applied for SEO, but there's some minor tweaks. So, for example, LLMs love structure, right? So that's something that helps them to get to your data. And they like a lot of the same structures as SEO, like being clear and authoritative and context rich. And that really helps the LLMs to understand your content. And it's really not a replacement of SEO, but more of, an evolution of SEO.
I think that's great. Like we can't forget that SEO is still there and still a big part of our lives. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think that is a good line that we should remember as we're going through the conversation today. And Robbie, do you have anything else that you'd like to add or any nuances you want to put in
I
there?
think Jennifer summed that up like beautifully. Yeah, I don't know that there's much more that I could add. Um, I guess yeah, like it's not SEO. It is like the evolution of SEO or like SEO 2.0 in a sense. And it's not any one thing. Like I find you with traditional SEO even like social media never mattered, but now with AEO like they can pull from that social data as well. So I think it's just getting your brand out there, right? Which we didn't have to worry about as much with traditional SEO.
No, I think that holistic approach, or we were able as marketers to kind of cheat on one thing or another. The truth will set us free in this new world. So I think that's a good segue into how AI is changing our traditional search, and in your opinion, how different are they, or how similar are they? Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to pick up where Jennifer and Robbie were leaving off there. Jennifer said it's the same concepts, minor tweaks, or it's the next evolution. Robbie said it's SEO 2.0. I think that's a good framework for thinking of it. But Oh, or and SEO itself is changing by becoming more AI oriented. On the one side, Google's trying to change its interface to be more like an answer engine, more like ChatGPT and the LLM chat interfaces with AI overviews, AI mode. They're trying to keep people on that search results page, provide the summarized answer right there, and reduce that friction. And on the other side, when you ask like ChatGPT or Claude or another LLM a question like, what's the best ERP for my business? The AI tools themselves often run a Google or Bing search or look at the Google or Bing index to collect info. Then they collect info from the pages they find, kind of put it in a blender, and that's how they create the natural language output that you see. So the two of them kind of work together. So I think it's good to think of SEO and AEO not as two branches or two options. Which one should I do? There's a layering effect. So the AI is a transformative interface layer that's working on top of the SEO layer, where a lot of the info sort of comes from the search layer and then gets transformed in the AI layer.
Oh, that's a little reassuring as someone who's kind of put all her eggs in the SEO basket in the past, that not everything is lost. It's just how do we now optimize for this new era and new way of working. Robbie, what do you see changing, or what have you adapted?
Yeah, so what like to kind of start back off where Mike finished too is um traditional SEO is not dead. There's There's many differences though. Like we can optimize AEO in forums, which we've never been able to do before. In social media, as I said previously, I'm finding press releases, things like that. You can get a lot of brand mentions, citations that way, and like that's kind of a bad example because they mattered previously, but I think it matters more today than it did in the past. Um, and was it social media forums, PR? There was another one. Now it's eluding me. I'm sorry.
When it comes back, we still have another 45 minutes. We have a lot of time to like talk on those subjects. But I think what I'm hearing is that brand notoriety is really becoming kind of that booster to kind of bring everything together or help be one of those filters in in deciding on what makes it to the top of the answer or question. I guess it's more of the answer board. So that I think that'll probably be a good theme for the day. And how are you measuring your results? Or what are you hoping to measure as results moving forward? Because we know that this is all very new, so we might not be measuring anything very specifically yet. But Jennifer, are you confident? What does your crystal ball look like? And what type of tools? We always like to know what tools people are using. So maybe let us into your insights there.
Yeah, but I think that's a really great question. Kind of going back to the old adage, what gets measured is what matters, right? So we have to be looking at this stuff because otherwise, it's just so important, but it's hard because there isn't one dashboard that gives us all the information. Right now, the data is scattered in different places and you kind of have to hunt it and find it. So one of the main things that we look at is traffic that we get from LLMs. So we pull a lot of that from Google Analytics. And then we also look at how many leads we're getting that were from LLMs. So we use HubSpot internally, and so we get a lot of that data from HubSpot. And then we run and we look at percentages and see, okay, how does that compare to traffic that we're getting from Google? How does that compare, to the percentage that convert? And it's really been eye-opening because, all of this is brand new. And we went from, not having any, say, Chat GPT leads to now, if Google used to be like 97% of everything. And now if we look at it, Chat GPT and the other LLMs have jumped up in numbers so much. And it appears that their conversion rate is higher because they almost come in as a referral. The one thing that's really challenging, though, is we've noticed a lot of traffic that's quote unquote direct, that's more than before. And one of the problems with trying to measure the LLMs is a lot of times, like if you go to ChatGPT and ask for a recommendation, they'll give a company name, but not a link. So then they might go and Google your company name or type in randgroup.com. And there's absolutely no way for you to know that came from the LLM. So, your question of how much do you trust it? Somewhat, but I know that it's not 100% accurate just because, we don't always know where it's coming from. So if we're seeing this number is coming from ChatGPT, I can probably multiply that by 2, and maybe that's the real number. Who knows? It's everybody's, best guess. We are also looking at prompts and citations using AirOps and Ahrefs and some other tools like that. There's some Bing tools that I won't steal that thunder. I'll leave that for Mike to talk about, but that's some of what we're measuring.
Oh, that's cool. And I think it's interesting that we have to also have that shift of that's coming in as a referral because people are really believing or taking what ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot as their point of reference and using that without needing to do too much more research at the top end and taking it as cash, which is fab for you. But I think as marketers, we have to think about how how can we train it so that, okay, we have to look at these answers or how we answer back when these referrals come in as someone who came in through that way. Mike, I know this is your favorite thing is talking about analytics, so you have the floor and ready to be
Sure.
dazzled.
It's very kind of Jennifer to leave the new Bing thing to me. That's lovely. But first, let me say that what Jennifer identified, looking at your own traffic, leads, wins, revenue that you can match up through your CRM or Google Analytics that is coming to your site via the AI tools, that's the most important thing to measure. If you're going to go measure anything, that you need to know that's the most confidently connected to your bottom line. But I have extra things to say which are also cool and useful and may help you guide your actions for the longer run. I got one thing to say that's a new cool thing you can measure, and then a couple of things that are like cautions about other ways of measuring, just some caveats about the other ways of measuring. So the new cool thing is that Microsoft is now providing an AI performance report, which will show you how many times your website was cited in Copilot each day, what keywords it was cited related to, and which pages from your website were cited. This is a giant leap ahead of what any other AI tool provider is offering. To my knowledge, fellow panelists can correct me if they know something I don't, but to my knowledge, no other major AI tool, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, is providing any direct data on how often you show up for real people or even what prompts real people are using. So there are lots of limitations to this new thing from Copilot or this new thing from Microsoft. It is just Copilot, not any of the other tools. And those keywords it shows, they're not actual full prompts. They must have some process on the back end to kind of compress a full sentence or paragraph long prompt or conversation down into a couple of words, but it's still a topic. But still, I'm really excited about that. And it means that all of a sudden, a lot of things that were just ideas a month or two ago are now testable hypotheses. You can get in and start measuring. You can look at leads you get that come through certain pages on your site and match those up to the pages that are cited most often in Bing. Do those things match up? Is that a valid expectation? Or are some pages kind of lower value or higher value compared to their traffic? And just the tip for where to find that's inside your Bing Webmaster Tools. I know that's not a place a lot of marketers may go regularly, but it's worth the trip to go get it. Two extra things I want to flag that are related to this about other ways of measuring visibility. So things like Ahrefs brand radar that Jennifer mentioned, those are really useful because ChatGPT and Claude and all that aren't giving you any direct data on what prompts real people are using or how often you show up. And so those things like Ahrefs brand radar or YK, what AI knows about you, they let you put in a set of prompts to say, I think these are the prompts people are asking, or these are the prompts I care about, and then find out how often are you showing up for those, assuming no personalization. That's useful, but you got to take it with a grain of salt because with the interface being so different, users may be asking questions very differently than you're used to from search or talking very differently than used to from other channels. And third thing about the difficulty of those is that the concept of ranking, which was so clear some years ago in search, isn't really as measurable as you want it to be anymore.
Did we lose him? Or is it
Mike,
me?
your audio is cutting out.
Yeah.
Oh, am I?
No,
No.
you touched something and it came on for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, while Mike comes back, like I don't want to cut him from this very exciting topic because I know this is his baby. But asking differently, I think that is one thing that as marketers we're going to have to learn how to adapt is how we ask things differently in the Google versus in the AI model. So I think that's something that we will definitely be looking at and keeping things a little closer. And Mike, did I buy enough time? Are you back?
Let's find out.
Yeah. All
Ah,
right. So,
okay, great.
all right.
just to say that the study shows that if 100 different people ask an AI tool, what's the best brand for X, fill in whatever your service is there, likely no two of them will get exactly the same list. It used to be the case that if you ask Google that question, people at least in your same city or same region would get a very similar list. That's not the case anymore. You're going to get very personalized, very different results. And so, again, we want to know that we're influencing revenue, but we have to take the measurement with a grain of salt that way.
I think that's where our witchcraft and wizardry will still play into effect for a little bit as we figure things out. And that takes us already to our first commercial break. I want to say thank you to our CMA patrons. We have MSDW, Marketeer, OMSI, Vicinity, UST Pay, and Partner Talks. Thank you for keeping our lights on here, for keeping this free and allowing people to come listen to these chats on a regular basis. So thank you again. And if you want to be a sponsor of this community, please feel free to go peruse our patrons' website to learn more about it there. And I think this is also very timely that ERP Software Blog, they can promote a new program for you, which is focused on AEO, which is releasing the best Microsoft Dynamics partners for a specific industry. There's currently a list that just hot off the presses and just got published. This is helping curate and verify lists that are going to help us in our AI world. So I think this is very timely. And if you want to know more, please reach out to Anya or go visit the website. We are big fans of the ERP and CRM software blog over here. So with that being said, thank you very much. And we are going to continue on with the hot topic of today. So our next question is, how important is AEO relative to other tactics? I know in the past we've said everyone has a personal favorite. How is this, shining a light on certain things, or how are things becoming more or less important? So, Mike, why don't you keep us going on this topic?
Sure. So I'll say that it's hardly important at all or overwhelmingly important, depending on how you define things. So if you look at the number of users just for ChatGPT, Claude, and all that, that's still far below the users for Google. And admittedly, the traffic that you can see from the AI tools is quite small relative to the amount of brand visibility you get in there, because your click-through rate is going to be a lot less. So in that sense, if you're thinking about just the narrow band of things that are right for just the AI tools and aren't great for search or other channels, it's probably not that great yet. It's going to grow. It has been growing. But on the other hand, AI interfaces are becoming more and more popular, and the giants of search are making their search engines into answer engines. So in that sense, answer engine optimization is inescapable. It's a huge chunk of the marketing landscape, and you can't be effective and act like nothing's changed in the last 3 or 5 years.
And what about you, Jennifer? Do you see anything that how is it taking importance, or do you know you have to stay the course with what you've been doing? How do you see your tactics changing internally?
Yeah, so I think it's not an either or question, because it's not really replacing other tactics. It's more of a multiplier. So for example, if your content strategy is weak, AEO won't save you, right? If you already have a strong foundation, what AEO can do is they can amplify that authority and they can amplify that signal, and you can get in more places and more authority. And I think Mike really hit the nail on the head in that Google is evolving, right? So even if AEO wasn't in the picture, SEO is changing, because, probably a year ago, it was SEO or AEO, and now they're becoming intertwined in the fact that, Google is half answer engine, half search engine. So, I mean, from a year from now, I'm not even sure if we're going to be talking about the two different terms because it's all going to be intertwined together. So, I mean, it is the future. You can't ignore it because it's all becoming one, and it's going to become so important in the future. You know, it might be a small percentage today, but if you look at the rate of growth that it had versus, you know, other search engines in the past, I mean, it's grown exponential compared to other things. And I mean, 2 years from now, it'll be really interesting to see where it's at. But I mean, we can't ignore it today.
No, I think we are living in that shift, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of all of this. And I guess, what are some tactics that you're seeing work well in this new answer engine? And what, you know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. What should you keep with what I'm calling old school tactics? Is there anything that you see that we should like, whoa, hold your own a second before you jump into this AEO world? Robbie, what are some of your thoughts on that?
I would say just continue creating really good, original and authentic content. Keep doing that. Make sure to have your answers as close to the top as possible. Have it feature rich, update the schema, kind of keep up with all of those traditional SEO like values, and just see what others are doing, see where they're weak, and you can win it so much easier. One of the tactics that I've taken on is start looking into prompts that my competitors aren't ranking for, or those keywords they're not ranking for, and they're surprisingly easy to win especially if you create a really good piece of content.
No, I think we come back to content is king or queen. Whichever way we try to get away from it, it comes back in and sneaks up to the top. And Jennifer, do you have anything else to add on old school versus the new way of working?
So I agree 100% with what Robbie said. And one thing I want to point out is it's so tempting today with the power of LLMs to have LLMs create blog content for you. But it's ironic because the LLMs don't like LLM content, right? So if you are hitting the easy button and you are creating short blogs without meat that is created for you, you are going to lose the AEO battle. Because what the LLMs want is they want deep, authoritative content, and they want first-party data. They want case studies. They want original research. They want stuff to show that you actually are, you know, have authority and know what you're talking about. So that's everything on page. I do want to kind of talk about some off-page stuff that Mike and Robbie referred to earlier. Is it's becoming increasingly important that the LLMs are getting smarter. If you just toot your own horn, that's not going to be enough. So it's looking for, you know, shout out to ERP software blog, places like that list you as a company, or, you know, have you listed as a top ranking. It's checking to see if you have a Microsoft Partner of the Year award. It's looking what people are saying on Reddit, community forums, etc. So that off-page stuff that in the past, you know, maybe you could get away with ignoring, you can't ignore that anymore. That's not, I don't want to say equally as important as the on page, but it's getting increasingly important to have those off page signals, so the LLMs know that you can be trusted.
I think that is such a great reminder. You know, we always say the truth will come back to haunt you, but this is really where we need to go with things. Is they have to fact check too. They don't want to come off as the being fluffy. And I think for us too, it's just going to make us step up our game that much more. That okay, we need to find those original content. And as much as we were able to come up with excuses not to write it in the past, or that it was hard, or that it was long, those reasons aren't there anymore. But coming up, using our brains as that first step is going to be even more important. I see some stuff coming in the chat as well. And Emily mentioned that she just learned about the lmref.com this morning, which auto-generates text files. When I checked with a couple of WordPress sites I support, their SEO plugins were already generating one. Curious if this group has tested their own versus auto-generated versions. She's happy to come on camera. Yes, come on camera, please, to discuss in more detail. So I don't know if any of you have some insights or want to talk about it further. The floor is yours. Anyone? Emily, do you want to talk about a little bit of what you learned or your experiences to date?
No, I really honestly just learned about it today, and everything that I've done is in the chat. I uploaded it. No, I'm in the process of getting it uploaded to WordPress right now.
All right, so
So
we will, for those
I would
watching
love to hear if it
afterwards.
was worth my time.
Yeah, so I don't have a definitive answer, but I did some research on the LLMs.txt, and I don't. Other people on the panel or on the call, feel free to disagree with me. But based on my research, it seemed like those were for larger sites. Like if you were, say HubSpot or some big development company, and you wanted to provide structured information that people can like find questions and answers. And from the research that I've done, it's not necessary for like our type of space to create LLMs.txt. I mean, that's the research that I found. I don't know if that's accurate or not. We don't use it, and are performing really well in the LLMs. I don't know what other people's experience is.
Yeah, we've implemented the LLMs.txt as well. Or we have actually, sorry, rather. I didn't see any changes, and to my knowledge, the LLMs are still only ever using a robots.txt. Yeah, but they do say that it is a good practice to have just in case that changes.
So your work isn't lost.
Yeah.
Like we say,
That's great.
yeah.
That's what I
So
love to
you're doing it. Yeah, no, you're doing good. And I think everyone is even these. We're building the plane as we fly it here. So I think it's something that as we go along, you might show fruit or build just something halfway through. So thank you for coming off camera and talking to us. See, we don't bite. We're good. I hope to have others do the same. And then so let's continue on. I think when I've said witchcraft and witchstream maybe too many times in 45 minutes, but I think that's sometimes the perception that we have, or in marketing in general, how do we portray things back to stakeholders is always interesting on their level of understanding. So how do you communicate this back? Or are they saying, "Hey, keep up the good work," or are people asking deeper questions on it? Jennifer, how do you report back? Do you have pushback when you say, "I want to do this cool new thing"? What is your feeling internally and from your stakeholders on AEO?
So we've definitely included this in all of our metrics. So we have a weekly flash report for our management team. And in that, I include how much traffic we've gotten from the LLMs, how many leads. So it's very much at the forefront. And I'm really thankful that I work for an organization where there is no pushback. And, it's the opposite of like, oh, this new cool thing came out. Like, what are we doing with it? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's really important to have that visibility and make sure that there's executive alignment that this is important. This is the future.
Oh, very, very good. And what about you, Mike? Is there anything that you're, any things to mention or roadblocks that you want to talk
Sure.
about when communicating with your stakeholders?
I want to say, like Jennifer, I feel really lucky to be in a company where we're really supported and the leadership has really bought in to what needs to be done and on the cutting edge of discoverability with AI tools and everything else. So the pushback, nope. More like encouragement, more like, hey, can you measure this? So great environment to be in. One thing I would add is that I think depending on where you're at in your company and the level of familiarity with marketing initiatives or level of involvement of the people you're reporting to, it can be important to set expectations with leaders that the kind of visibility and control we have now and for the foreseeable future with AI and answer engine optimization is different or lower than the levels of visibility and control we had with previous channels. You could treat old school search like a performance channel. We know exactly how we ranked for exactly what keyword, and we can see it all the way to the journey on our site. Whereas, like Jennifer said, the trail of breadcrumbs starts on your site now, and in many cases there's going to be things like direct traffic or brand search that gets them there that happened because they saw you on an LLM, but you can't track that. So you need to change some of the expectations. It's a little closer to being a brand play than a performance play now.
Interesting. And I think the brand play was always something that was harder to justify, or that setting expectations, I think, is so important when where we're saying like this is new, where we're gonna try it, we're gonna test small, where we don't know where it's gonna lead yet. But I think if you're honest and upfront about that from the jump, people are a lot more open to allowing you to test and try. And speaking of testing and trying, here's my segue. We have Jim in the chat who's saying he has a counter argument of why you shouldn't use LLM text. So I don't know if you can still come off mute and share that with us, Jim, a little bit.
Hi, everybody. Sorry to jump in. This is one of my several soapboxes on this subject.
Perfect. We are all
So
about soapboxes here.
yes, and I know Robbie and I were Honda, so hello. Um, I'm in this space, and I can say with some amount of confidence that no AI assistant uses an LLM.text as part of their formal process for gathering information, which will be a surprise. But as Mike mentioned, they do all run web searches as part of their information gathering. So if you have content that ranks in Google or ranks in Bing, it could be selected as a citation, which means if your LLM.text files is ranking, it might be cited. The big challenge that I have found, and this is the reason I advise people actually take them down and redirect them to their home page, is if a user clicks on that citation, they will end up on your LLMs.text page, which is going to look like Markdown. It's going to look like a broken website. And given how rare click-throughs are from AI, the danger of somebody ending up there and not having any way to get anywhere else. There's no homepage, there's no navigation, there's nothing. There's just Markdown. And that is a horrible place to send somebody who ends up like with high intent on your website. You might as well send them to a Greek interpretation of your 404 page. So that is my soapbox. Thanks.
Oh no, thank you. And I think that that is a great test of or case study on making sure you test your website all the way through, and using those hot jars to see where people click is always wild. So always keep an eye on things like that. But thank you for that. Yeah, I think we're all testing and learning about these random usages. So thanks for this conversation today, everyone. I think this is the most number of times people have come off mute in the 4 years we've been doing this. So yay, panelists. I'm giving this all to you for getting people to come off mute. And I think we've been talking a lot about today and the unknown. But I like to know with your crystal balls, where do you see things changing? Where do you see trends going? Where do you see the future, as you know, that could be in 2 months from now as well, at the speed things are going at. But if you can look into your crystal ball, Mike, and tell me what you see as what do you see changing in the upcoming future?
Yeah. First, I want to say something that Jennifer already said, but I want to reaffirm it, is that traditional search and the AI tools are going to continue to merge. They're all becoming one. Google's pushing towards having that LLM interface, and ChatGPT, et cetera, are buying up link graph data to get information retrieval to be more like Google in terms of how they map connections, combat spam, and so on. So things are increasingly going to merge. Everybody seems to have the same end goal in mind. Second thing is a little more new and experimental, and I don't know where it's going to go, and that's agentic browsing. So ChatGPT and Google and other companies are trying to infuse AI more right into your browser. So not only when you are looking for a company and asking the LLM or the Google interface, what's a good brand for me to visit, even when you're on somebody's website or when somebody's on my website, instead of the user clicking around to find the pricing, what ChatGPT and Google or so on are trying to do with agentic browsing is the user will have an AI agent inside their browser, and they'll say, how much does it cost? And then the AI agent will search the site for it. Or instead of the user filling out the contact form, the user may just say, fill out the contact form for me and tell them I want to meet them on Tuesday. And then it'll fill out the AI, the form for you. So that's another thing that's coming around the corner. That technology is not fully ready yet. There's security problems with it for now, but the big companies are pushing towards it. And I think that's another, all of these developments, and that one included, mean that having that distinctive point of view, a really clear, unique value proposition, really clear, dialed in target audience is going to be more and more important for you to be able to stand out and be memorable, even when people's experience of your brand is more and more mediated by these AI tools or AI interfaces.
Very interesting. Robbie, what does your crystal ball say?
Yeah, I would say that I think we're gonna continue to see clicks decrease, but I think that the authority of those sites that are getting mentioned, that are getting cited, I think that they're going to grow in authority. And I do see conversion rates being much higher with lower traffic. So that's one of the things that I've thought of. And then also I think we're just going to like continue to see more PR as well. I think teams are going to have to build more PR and kind of invest more in marketing to get those brand mentions, those citations. So I could see some teams that still do traditional SEO having to grow their marketing team in some form going forward.
Well, it's interesting. It's really that shift where when I started in this industry, a couple of years ago, brand was a super important part of it. And when, Marketing 2.0 came in, it kind of took the wayside to search engine. And now we're kind of having this full circle moment come back to it. So I think that'll be good for us to refresh that side of it. And Jennifer, what does your crystal ball say for the future?
I think the first thing is that by the time somebody gets to our website, they're going to be a lot more educated. So kind of going off of what Robbie was saying is, fewer clicks, but higher conversion is with these powerful LLMs, they can get so much information and have that information synthesized and analyzed and put together and digested that by the time they get to us, they're going to be educated. They're going to be more ready to want to connect with a human. So, there's going to be less, white papers and all that other stuff because they can get that information provided for them. So they're going to be higher quality, more educated, prospects. The other thing is that this technology is going to get smarter. So right now, there's people are trying to game the system. There's always going to be people trying to game the system, find loopholes. They create a list on their website of, best companies and they're on that list. And then they get, rankings and LLMs. Every month it gets smarter. And in the future, those tactics are not going to work and it's going to see through it. And even if you have some conversations in quote, with these LLMs now and start asking some questions, they can start seeing through it and start taking off the list people that are self-promoting. So I think it's kind of going back to the days of SEO where you had the black hat and white hat techniques. And for a while, the black hat worked, but then you got penalized. I think it's going to be the same thing with AEO, that if you try and cheat the system, it might work for a little bit, but the LLMs are getting smarter so much quicker. And they're going to pick up on that and they're going to penalize that. So I think that's going to be a big change. And then the third thing that's going to be wild is when LLMs start having ads, right? So that I think is something that none of us can predict what that's going to look like, how that's going to influence things, and what that's going to look like. I think that's going to be the major disruptor coming soon, is when they start having ads and paid placement and what that's going to look like.
And then it'll be back to the Wild West of learning it all over again. But yes, that'll be wild yet exciting times. I'm going to end with I like what you said, Jennifer, is when they said they're going to be so educated that they're going to want to speak to a human. And in all of this, we can't forget that we still are a B2B business and people want to do business with people. And how do we not forget that, close that loop at the end of, if you put me with a chatbot, that's not going to get me what I want, or that's just going to add a friction or something that I'm not looking for. So having that human in the loop at the end of it, whether it's in a business process of approving an invoice or whether it is getting someone to contact us, I think that expectation of speaking to a human at one point is still going to be there. And as marketers, as much as we try to want to automate as much as we can, we are still going to need someone who's going to smile and say hello and ask you where you live and what your weather is today. So I think that is a perfect way to, circle back and end this session. We still have a couple minutes. So if someone has any questions, we have a disagree. Please, I would love to hear more about that. So Sam, I know you're not camera shy. So
I am camera shy now. I have a really bad cough.
Oh no. Okay. Well,
so I will,
audio shy. You're not audio shy.
I will not say it, but I think some people have heard me talk about this seller-free economy and how I think the world is shifting into that for less complex deals. So I'm not talking about ERP deals. I'm talking about ISV and in that B2B cycle. As a marketer buying technology, I've bought multiple different technology stacks that are like 45K without even talking to a person other than like, can you just give me the contract? Because I'm using software I like, or I'm using software I already know, or I'm using peer vetted stuff from things I look up on the internet, from G2 reviews, etc. So I think there's actually a shift in a couple of different mindsets where the complex side of trust needs to be a bigger factor in the way we show up in SEO and AEO. How do we build that trust and authority to empower buyers who are not necessarily wanting to waste time on 2.5-hour demos on using an AP automation tool, right? AP is pretty smooth, makes a lot of sense when you kind of click around. So that's just my alternative opinion. I think in the long term, we're going to have two different kind of styles of buying, and the style of more focused on self-service is going to continue to grow as we age out older populations. That's just my opinion.
Oh no.
And based on research I've seen.
I think you hit the nail on the head on there is a buyer persona for that as well. So I think we just have to take it that step further too, and being like, okay, well, if someone hits contact us, do we just have to add something in the form that says, yes, I want to speak to a human, or yes, I would like a quote? Maybe that buying journey, we have to think about how we adapt that for the different people and how they like to shop around.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, I do not like to talk to people when I buy my shoes. So I think it also depends on what and how knowledgeable you are on the topic at hand.
Agreed.
I thank you, Sam. 3 coming off mute
I
today.
know, Tanya, I think maybe we can get Mubashar to actually come off mute. He knows a lot about this topic as well, and having some good stuff in the chat. Anything you want to share with the group?
Sorry, hello. I just come as a fan, so I'm not sure. Yeah. No, I was just saying that on the LLM that a lot of companies are testing it, and searchengineland.com, they also converted all their pages to Markdown, and I kind of disagree with Jim because these LLM is just like files are just like your new sitemap for these Gemini or ChatGPT, and I go back and forth with Gemini and ChatGPT in detail, and they also just suggested like we can even go take a step ahead and try to optimize it as much as possible and add all the kind of a structural information just like we do with the schema in the LLMS. But again it's in currently testing phase, and someone from Google said like it's not important, but still why the all the big giants are testing with those files. So I think it makes sense to have those on your website, this llms.txt files.
All right. So I think the jury's still out, and the way people test it, and in 6 months from now, we can circle back on this topic, or I'm sure it'll make it back into our panelists soon. And I think the search engine too, if I remember, not like going back into my history at the beginning too, some things worked for one and some things didn't work for others. When Sam's talking about I don't like this or I like that, I think this is there will be preferences. There will be how complex of a system is it, something more well known? Is it an ISV? Is it just from a like as a VAR and how you're selling your services? I think there's a lot of complexity and there that we are going to have to learn, and excited to hear and see what the future has in store. So I hope you all enjoyed today's topic, and that you come and attend. I think this is a great segue for next month, which is going to be about how to stop creating boring content. We said that content is still a really important part of this secret sauce that we have to build out with AEO. So I hope you will join us on March 23rd, on Monday. So we're trying out a new date, same time at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you all there. And if you've missed a session in the past, shame on you, but it's okay. You can come to our website and watch past sessions. If you thought this one was super interesting, it'll be online shortly in the next week or so. So feel free to share it with colleagues. Sharing is caring. If you want to be a sponsor, panelist, if you have new ideas on how we can make this community grow, by all means, don't be a stranger and reach out to us. Thank you again, Mike, Robbie, Jennifer. It was a real pleasure. I can't wait to hear and see what you guys are up to next. So thanks again, everyone, and have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye now.